The season is almost upon us, so if you have finished all your fantasy drafts, you're getting ready for your DFS lives, all there is left to do is put some cheeky bets on for the NFL season. To give Ed and I some help, credibility, reliable predictions, hopefully we have Byron of the Good Teams Win Great Teams cover podcast with us, and we're going to get stuck straight in, Byron, looking at the lines for a big shred away, the Super Bowl champions at the end of the season. Now, we know it is going to be the mighty Baltimore Ravens with great odds there at 7.00, but there's some other teams to mention as well. Who are your favorite picks for either making it to the Super Bowl, that overall matchup, or to win the whole thing?
Yeah, I am a bit. I don't like to have a good long shot, but actually, my favorite bet for the Super Bowl this year is the Baltimore Ravens.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they're the best team in football. To me, they have the best.
Yeah. Don't pull those faces, Ed. Byron is talking perfect sense. I don't know what you're shaking your head at.
You said Byron talks sense.
Yeah, people might have seen me on here before. No, that's not so true. But yeah, I don't know what the Ravens don't have in terms of what they would need to win a Super Bowl. Mark Andrews not to drop a end zone target, I guess. But otherwise, I think they're as well constructed as anybody in the league. I think they've got stronger in the offseason. The Eagles have maybe fallen off a little bit. And yeah, I mean, I think the only thing you could say against me is that they've yet to do it. But I absolutely love their neck for the team. I think Harbaugh's a great, great coach. And yeah, I would struggle to put anyone above them as the best roster in the NFL. So for me, they're the justifiable favorite to win the entire gosh darn thing.
I think when you look at those odds, it shows you just how strong the AFC is, that you've got Ravens, Chiefs, Bills so close, and then the Eagles are the clear favorites in the NFC. And you just think that for either of those three AFC teams, if they switch places with the Eagles, we'd have probably had them in the Super Bowl. Throw the Bengals into that as well, to be fair, over the last 5 years. That would have been a much clearer path, wouldn't it? But are there any longer shots that if you were going to go for long? I mean, it's looking at the odds of 7-0 when you feel you've got a clear favourite. They're good odds, aren't they? But if you want to have a more speculative one, you want to kind of put your neck on the line, who would your pick be? Would it be one of those 8 on the screen, or would you go a little bit deeper?
Yeah, a little deeper for me. So one of my favourite teams going into the season, and it is on the NFC side, because I think, like you say, after the Eagles, I think you can make a great case for any of them. And it's actually another NFC North team. I have the Vikings at 25-1 to win the Super Bowl, or 11-1 to make the Super Bowl even. I just think they're constructed in such a way that they're built for January. They've strengthened the O-line, they've strengthened the D-line, and there's kind of a little bit of a sight unseen to it in JJ McCarthy, but really it's a sight seen in Kevin O'Connell. If you can get Sam down to 14 wins, yep, I'm done. You are a great head coach. I believe you can do anything. So if JJ McCarthy isn't going to completely, cake the bed as essentially a rookie, then I think the sky's the limit for the Vikings this year. They're going to get Jordan Addison back after 3 games. You can cope with 3 games right, a wide receiver. Hockenson a further year recovered from his ACL injury. As good of a wide receiver as you have in the league in Justin Jefferson. I know Chase obviously had his incredible triple crown last year, but I don't think you can really make much of an argument. There's much difference between Jefferson or Jamar Chase. I would even maybe throw CeeDee Lamb in there, but these are the elite receivers. And yeah, I just love that they continue to strengthen the defensive line. They continue to strengthen the offensive line. And Brian Flores is a wicked defensive coordinator who will F anybody up who gets in his way. So, yeah, I think the 49ers have a softer schedule, but I think the Vikings are a much better team than the 49ers, who are shorter odds because they have a soft schedule. But if they were to meet on a neutral field, I would pick the Vikings happily.
Yeah, it's interesting that there's one where McCarthy absolutely comes out the gate flying, and the Vikings are an absolute force to be reckoned with, aren't they? Ed, where would your picks go?
Yeah, it's interesting on the AFC side. I'm surprised the Bengals are 4th favourites. I mean, that's based on Burrow and Chase, basically, isn't it? It's certainly not based on their defense. And I think that there's that huge drop off after the top three, which is fair enough. And again, I suppose the Chiefs are there because of their record. Every year, it seems over the last few years, we've discussed the Chiefs. Is it the year where they drop off? But I'm sure they'll be there or thereabouts again. I think somebody who interests me on the NFC side is who isn't on that graphic is the Rams potentially. I think they're decent odds looking here about 20s, and they've got a great head coach, excellent young defense. And then I suppose the only question mark at the moment is Stafford's fitness. But if he's fit and firing, with Devontae Adams there, I think that's a great signing for them, and obviously Puka as well, and Kyron Williams. I think the Rams will be a force in the NFC, so they might be someone worth sticking a couple of quid on. But yeah, AFC. Is it the Bills' year? I mean, hopefully it's not the Ravens. But I think if I was to choose anyone, it would be the Bills if it wasn't the Bengals. But yeah, I think it's certainly going to be interesting.
Let's move on to have a look at the potential MVP on the season then. Now, we're just the back of the top 100 being released and people saying, oh, look, Saquon was robbed, Lamar was robbed. I'm not buying any of that. I'm as biased as they get when it comes to Lamar Jackson. But even I can't argue the fact that what Josh Allen did with very limited weapons at his disposal, it was a fantastic season. Yes, you can always pick and choose what numbers you want to go for. The number that matters is 2025. Josh Allen won MVP. That's kind of fair, do you think, from that point of view? We know it's a QB award, regardless of what the voting committee in the NFL tried to tell us. There's no real shocks there at all. For me, though, and we often when we want to have a look at a value, obviously he's not the favourite because he's much further down on there. But I quite like the odds of 15.004 for Jordan Love. I think that's quite a speculative little bet on there. For those listening, we are going for decimal odds because Ed and I understand them the easiest. So for every £1 or $1 you put on, you get the number on the screen back. For our later bets, we've converted it to US line and fractional odds as well. Anyone there on the screen or deeper on there that you would fancy? I think this time last year we were speaking about Goff being a sneaky candidate of having a solid season. Lo and behold, especially for those people that watched quarterback, he was very much in the conversation at points last year. Just one of those years where other people ahead of him had amazing seasons as well. Who would your picks this year be, Byron?
So you're much kinder on the Josh Allen thing than I am. I think Lamar Jackson was absolutely robbed last year. I know Josh Allen was very good as well, but I think Lamar Jackson was a step above him, and I've gone Lamar Jackson again. I think the Ravens are going to win Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson at 5.5. Again, since Todd Monken came into town, he's been the best quarterback in football. I see no reason for that to change. So Lamar Jackson is my favourite to pick here. I do have two longer shots as well, though. In the Jared Goff mold, and it might be a bit of a theme here. We might see some more of this team, but again, I think the Vikings are underpriced across a lot of the markets. I backed him at 100 to 1 or 100.0. Earlier in the offseason, he's now 75. Is JJ McCarthy. Again, if you can come in, hit the ground running, win 13, 14 games at narrative award, I think that's kind of a very, very long price for something that I don't think is that unrealistic. If you can, again, win 14 games with the Vikings, yeah, they've got that Jared Goff feel to it from last year where he could run close if, Lamar, Josh Allen have slightly down years. And I think there's a very good chance that the Vikings win more games than the Bengals, the Commanders, the Packers. The Chiefs will be there and thereabouts. But I do sometimes wonder if there's a bit of voter fatigue with your Patrick Mahomes as well. And I think that's kind of what got Lamar last year as well, truthfully. People were sick of voting the winner. And then I have one super long shot. It is a quarterback award. But if someone who's not a quarterback is going to win it ever, what if it's the NFL's first two-way player in a billion years? Travis Hunter is 250 to 1. He almost certainly will not win it, but they're another team that I'm higher on than the market is. I think the Jags could I mean, not to say easily, but I have them as favourite to win their division. Because I have a lot of doubts about the Texans, and I think the other two teams are kind of, the Titans and the Colts are works in progress at best, and I don't know if the Colts are really in progress.
Very kind.
Yeah, not sure what progress we've made in Indianapolis until they get a new GM at the very least. But yeah, Travis Hunter is 250 to 1. If he can go over 1,000 receiving yards and make some notable plays on defense, and the Jags win 12 games, again, it's 250 to 1 for a reason. But I think up until this point in his career, you would have went broke betting against Travis Hunter. So I want to get on him when he's 250 to 1, not when he's 50 to 1 next season after he's had an incredible rookie year. So, yeah, I'm going to sprinkle a little on Travis Hunter at 250 to 1, a little more on JJ McCarthy at 75 to 1, but truthfully, the vast majority on Lamar Jackson at 5.5.
I think the Jags are a team that over the last couple of weeks, that narrative does feel like it's shifting a little bit, doesn't it? And we are starting to see a little bit more positivity about the Jags. So, yeah, I like that as a route to go as well. And we talk more about Travis Hunter soon as well. Ed, for Joe Burrow at 6.5, is it going to be the headline figure of wins, losses because of the defense that hindered Joey B again this year?
Yeah, I think, obviously what hindered him last year was the Bengals didn't get to the playoffs. And that could be the issue again with the defense not looking any better. You can see why the bookies win, because those odds are, you can throw a blanket over the top four there. And, to have Joe Burrow just slightly behind Josh Allen and Lamar is pretty unfair. Because I'd say he's longer odds significantly than those two to be MVP. But yeah, if he did get the Bengals into the playoffs, had a mega season, over 5,000 yards, ridiculous amount of touchdowns, despite the defense being shocking, then he'll be in with a shout. But at the moment in the NFL, it's so hard to look past Lamar and Josh Allen because they are, just absolutely superb talents.
Before we move on to our next lines, please do take a moment to subscribe, like, and give us a share as well. Get yourself down in the comments below any picks that you're particularly looking forward to making from the point of view of betting this year, or any of our comments that you completely disagree with. Maybe you think that Travis Hunter's odds of 251 are far too high and he's a shoo-in for the whole damn thing this year. Having a look at some offensive and defensive player of the year odds then. So the pattern we see with a lot of things when it comes to betting markets at this stage is there's a lot of people feel what happened last year will happen again this year. And sometimes that is the case because great players continue to be great. But there aren't any real shocks that we're seeing on here. For me, I think Aiden Hutchinson, fantastic player, but I do think coming off such a big injury, I would love to see Aiden Hutchinson straight back to his best, but there is a world where he's going to take a little while to get in. So we're going to come back onto him later on as well. Micah Parsons is going to be a heck of a lot of money moving Micah Parsons' way after that blockbuster trade to the Packers as well. Now he is Jezza free for his future. Where do you like it? I think this is one in particular I prefer to dig a little bit deeper into the market. Spencer, is that your thinking on this, Byron, or would you go for the favourites because they're favourites for a reason?
No, I like to go at least a little deeper. Again, I think you can get really good prices on these markets. Just because there's so many good offensive players, and defensive, but so many good players. I don't need to tell you guys, but you look at the first round of fantasy drafts this year, and it's it feels like it's deeper than it's ever been. I'm not sure if there's that much benefit to picking the 101 over the 109, realistically. So my bet for OPOY is someone who I think could credibly be the 101 in fantasy drafts. And you make a very good point about what happened last year is what people remember the most. But Christian McCaffrey at 20 to 1. If Christian McCaffrey is fit, there isn't really anyone who breaks fantasy like CMC. And ultimately, OPOY is kind of the fantasy player of the year award, really. So, yeah, I absolutely love it. The 49ers have got a very, very soft schedule. I think us three are on there at week 12, maybe, to go up against the 49ers. That's how tough their schedule is. They're going to win 11 or 12 games. Despite, I'm not even that big on the 49ers as a roster, but they have such a soft schedule this year that they're going to get to double-digit wins. If CMC is fit for 17 games, he's going to catch the ball a ton. He's going to score a lot of touchdowns. Again, their wide receiver grouping feels like it drops off by the day. I think they've currently got MVS and Sky Moore in there. which, again, don't really see those guys contributing too much, but it's going to be George Kittle, CMC, and whichever wide receiver is fit that week. And yeah, I think if CMC plays 15 plus games, 20-1 is a price that might look very long come the end of the season.
Who are you liking the look of on there, Ed? I mean, Jamar Chase is in there for a reason, isn't he? You are always very high on Chase Brown. Are you thinking about Chase Brown at all?
Yeah, I mean, and maybe not Chase Brown for this particular award. Yeah, I'm surprised that Barkley is the favourite, but I suppose, as you say, that kind of links back to obviously what he did last year. And like Byron says, I could reel off a load of names here: Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan. I think would be great shouts as well. Even like somebody like CD Lamb, if he could have a a mega season with Dak, because I think a bit like the Bengals, the Cowboys are going to have to just go all out on offense. So yeah, I mean, I think CD Lamb is probably similar, probably 20s, I'd guess, something along those lines. So yeah, I think it's choose your favorite and pay your money. Really, I think it's wide open race. And when it comes to defensive player of the year, I think because people are less familiar with the defensive players, it tends to be the bigger names that will get will be mentioned. So it probably will be one of the four on the screen. Most likely, I would suggest Myles Garrett, or TJ Watt. Michael Parsons. Again, that's a name value thing, isn't it? But yeah, I'd probably go Myles Garrett.
I think what Garrett and Watt have on their side is their defenses in Cleveland and Pittsburgh are probably see quite a lot of the field over the course. Yes. There's going to be plenty of time to put those stats up as we move through. So looking at the same awards then, but for our rookies. So the anomaly we've already spoken about here. I don't think there's ever. I'm sure there is somebody that might be able to correct me. I certainly don't know in my memory of someone being up for both when it comes to such short odds. 130-1 to maybe get Travis Hunter getting both awards. That'd be exciting, wouldn't it? There's so, once again, especially on the offense side of the ball, there are so many players that you could choose from here. For me, when you're looking at the odds and making it worthwhile having your bet, Amari Hampton's a player I've been very, very high, and I think there is a very clear route to him at least being in the reckoning. I think those odds will be much lower than 8s when you get further into the season. I think probably the same case you've just made about defensive players as well. When people who know the players and putting the money on, I think Abdul Carter is the clear favourite for a reason there. There's interesting Mike Green's in that mix, a player that kept dropping in the draft until he found his way to the Ravens and is finding his way now into those betting odds. I mean, Travis Hunter is the most appealing name on there, and especially what you said from that MVP discussion. I think offensive rookie of the year, it is more likely we can see there based on the odds. But I quite like him at 10 as well. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, Travis Hunter really appeals. I love the 130-1 to win both. I mean, imagine winning OROY, DROY, and MVP in one season. I mean, geez, the Louise medals.
No pressure.
Yeah, it could happen. But my picks are: I've actually got Emeka Egbuka at 18-1 for offensive rookie of the year. Egbuka is one of my absolute favorites pre-draft. I think he's fallen into a wonderful situation. Baker Mayfield's playing as good a football as he's ever played. No Chris Godwin initially to hold him back there. Tristan Wirf's injury probably impacts the passing game and the running game, but I think it might make them more throw heavy to start the season. And it's kind of maybe my boldest fantasy call of the season is that Egbuka is the highest scoring Bucs wide receiver in fantasy this year ahead of Mike Evans. I just think I was really excited about him coming into the league, and I don't think I've heard a single bad word about him since he entered the league. Everything is glowing out of Tampa Bay about him. So yeah, I love him at 18-1. I have a long shot on Bashal too, and at 60-1 as well. Just if the Jags get a running back one, if they can commit to one of them, get rid of Bigsby or ETN. We see what Bucky Irving did last year in the Liam Cohen offense. I think 60-1's a really good price on a player who looks the most explosive, Jags running back. So that's where I'd put my money on there. And for defensive rookie of the year, Baltimore do it again. Mike Green, I think is going to be up there with Abdul Carter in terms of pure talent. And the thing I think might ding Carter a little, I think he's an incredible talent, but I think the Giants are going to be playing from behind a lot, which means they're not going to get as many sack opportunities, whereas I expect the Ravens to lead in most, if not all, games. So Mike Green's going to get, go after the quarterback. Simple as. He looks incredible immediately. We know why he fell in the draft, but that doesn't impact him now and today. So that bend and dip he shows rushing the passer, I think, is very, very special. He's clearly a first-round talent, and he's in a situation where he's going to be able to show off those skills every week. So I think I was annoyed Mike Green was such a short price, because I thought it'd been a second-round pick. He might have been a little longer, but we've seen one look at him on a NFL field, and to me, he looks like an instant starter for one of the best teams in football, or the best team in football. So yeah, I like Mike Green, even at a shorter price, 11s.
Yeah, no, definitely agree on those. And I think Igbokwe isn't a player that you're going to have to convince Ed and I of a lot. We're all in on Igbokwe as well.
Yeah.
So we were saying in shows we spoke about before, and we talk about him as a start of the week, this week on our main show as well. At face value, he'd not fallen into a great spot short term, and over the off season, the less we heard about Godwin, the more we heard about Igbokwe.
Yeah.
I can't remember which podcast I listened to, someone quoting Baker Mayfield, where he was asked what's he most excited about this season. And of all the things he could have said, he said, Emeka Egbuka is immense. So a complete open question. He wasn't asked about his receivers, wasn't asked about anything, just what are you most excited by? And Egbuka is exciting him. And Baker Mayfield is a player that has, it sounds patronised, but has grown up a hell of a lot over the last couple of years, and is someone that when he's saying that of a rookie coming in, I think that carries some weight. He's not a man who says things for the sake of saying it. So yeah, that is really, really interesting as well. Anyone we've not mentioned so far that you want to throw into the mix?
No, I love that Egbuka shout, and again, Mike Green, going on to one of the best defenses in football, helps his situation as well. So yeah, Egbuka or Hampton for offensive rookie of the year. I have got a lot of Hampton in drafts, so I think there's some great rookies to look forward to this season.
Yeah.
Looking at players that are returning, then we've spoken about a couple of these already for comeback player of the year, and we've also got coach of the year up on the screen as well. Dak Prescott is a player that we've spoken about a fair bit over the course of the season. So I think he's an interesting one in there, and Trevor Lawrence as well. On that Jags theme, we're hearing more and more positivity starting to build about the Jags. It just always seems that for comeback player of the year, it is someone that's come back from complete obscurity. They weren't in the reckoning at this point. So it could well be a player we have literally forgotten about at this stage. And sometimes as a player that their comeback was from just being rubbish the year before as well. So there could be a complete turnaround in there. CMC for me is my favorite pick there. Obviously, is it there with the favorite in the betting as well. Anyone that should be a bit higher up in that mix, Byron, or a player that people might be forgetting about that could make an appearance?
Yeah, CMC is my favorite as well, so I'll quickly pop that in there. Again, everything I just said about CMC still applies here. My real long shot one, though, 150 to 1. We love a huge long shot, right? Who doesn't? Hopefully you get to cheer it all season. Coming back from a broken leg, broke his leg 5 weeks into the season last year. If you took his fantasy points per game in the games he scored a point last year, extrapolated it over the 17-game season, he would have been wide receiver 8. And nobody loves him enough. Rashid Shaheed in New Orleans. He's not just a returner. He's an incredible deep threat. Spencer Rattler can sling the F out the ball with very little accuracy, but the Saints are going to be behind, I think, every single week. They are underdogs in every game this season. They're a very, very, very good bet to be the first overall pick. All these things kind of hurt your ability to be, an award winner. But this isn't the MVP market. You don't need to win 14 games to be the comeback player of the year. I think Rashid Shaheed might actually pop off this year in, again, an offense that's going to be very throw heavy. And he was really good to start the year last year as a wide receiver, and as a returner, but as a wide receiver in itself. So I think 150 to 1 is kind of it's a price worth backing. Again, you don't expect to win 150 to 1 shots, but this isn't a market, like you say, where players can come out of nowhere. J.K. Dobbins was a huge long shot last year. I know he didn't win it, but he came pretty close. I love to shout out Rashid Shaheed anywhere I can. So, yeah, Shaheed 151 is my favorite long shot in this market.
Anyone you want to throw into the mix, Ed?
I'm going to throw the great man himself into the mix, and that's Danny Dimes. I think looking at his odds, I think they're kind of 20s, which I think is a bit. It should be longer than that, that's for sure. But yeah. We all know Danny Dimes is going to have well, I should have mentioned in the MVP conversation, to be honest. Danny Dimes is a long shot. But again, it's difficult to look past CMC or Dak, to be honest. Hence why they're the favourites.
Gabe Davis, dishonest Gabe. I just want to mention, because we don't talk about it on the show very often, 276 to 1. There we go. That's the only time we'll mention Gabe Davis this season. Next up, before we move on to any other kind of bets that Byron wants to, and we're going to move into a feature we're going to call Vet My Bet now. So Ed and I have both put together a couple of bets, and we're going to ask Byron to pick them apart. Where does he think? Do you think we're on something good? Does he think that there's one particular part of the bet may fail us? And then we're going to wrap up with some other betting markets that Byron's going to raise for us as well. But Ed, for the first of Vet My Bet, I'm going to pass over to you with your QB yardage bet.
Yeah, so I've gone for 3 quarterbacks who I think will throw the ball a lot this season. They did last season. Well, 2 of them did. One was injured for half of it. So I'm going for Burrow, Prescott, and Mayfield, all to get at least 4,500 passing yards. Now, Burrow, I think it's almost guaranteed unless he gets injured. You look at like his history, apart from his 2 injury-ravaged seasons, he's got there every year, apart from 22, where he was just short of 4,500. Again, Dak, he's done it a couple of times historically, and got close once as well. But I think with the weapons that he's got this year, with Pickens there as well, and like Burrow, will be throwing the ball a lot. Then I suppose the one that kind of pushes the odds up is Mayfield. He got there last year. He got 4,500 yards exactly last year, and that's the only time he's got anywhere in the ballpark of that figure. So I suppose he's the one that I'm less confident in, but I chucked him in there to push the odds up and make it a bit more of an exciting bet. So yeah, over to you, Byron. What are your thoughts on that one?
Truthfully, I love it. Yeah. I think it's well reasoned. I think the only thing that might get you is if anyone misses time. I have Dak Prescott to lead the league in passing at 8 to 1 for that exact reason. Him and Joe Burrow, they get let down by their front offices, so they have no defenses. They're going to throw the ball a lot. They have really good wide receivers. I don't see anything you can really quibble with either of them to get up 4,500 yards other than they might miss time. But anybody might. And Baker Mayfield, yeah, you're adding Buka to that room. I agree. I think they're going to be throwing it a lot this year. At 40 to 1, I think this is a great price. So, you put in Baker obviously to boost the odds up there, but it's certainly not unrealistic. I like it as a bet, yeah.
Well, I'm going straight to the bookies then.
Let's go.
Byron approved.
So for my bet then, Byron, I've gone for a few safer options, but obviously when you put more things on there, there's more likely for something to go wrong. So I'm a little bit more cautious on my passing yards. I've gone Burrow and Mahomes both to get 4,000 plus yards. Barkley and Henry, 1,500 rushing yards apiece. I don't see, once again, other than missing time, and you can't place a bet on something based on someone might have a massive injury. That feels fairly safe. Bijan Robinson and Jonathan Taylor, I think, are both in situations where my only thing that worries me about them is the situation around them rather than them themselves. So I've put those down for 1,000 rushing yards each. And that combination of 6 milestones in the regular season gives me 25 to 1 on my bet. So a £10 bet would return £260. Where would you feel that the biggest concern would be out of those players?
I mean, it's not a high level of concern. I like all 6 individually. My slight level of concern is on Saquon Barkley. Just he had 1 billion carries last year. do the Eagles try and be a little more gentle with him this year? Use Will Shipley maybe a little more in closing games out if they're ahead. But they do have a tough schedule, so I don't know how much they're going to be able to do that. Jonathan Taylor, I've really come around to as we get closer to game starting and actually doing our home drafts and such like. With Anthony Richardson there, I was a little worried that things might be too disjointed, but I think Danny Dimes, it's really a problem when Danny Dimes is a solution to your quarterback problems. I think he's going to get. I know he's going to come back an MVP, Ed, yeah, but yeah, I like Taylor more now than I did earlier in the offseason because I think just having an offense that looks like it knows what it's doing at the very least, and Jonathan Taylor's so dynamic, so electric. Bijan, Caleb McGarry went down, his right tackle for the season. It's a little concern, but it's only 1,000 yards. It's a 17-game season. So my only slight ding is Saquon Barkley. If the Eagles ease him out a little to keep him fresh for a probable Super Bowl run. Otherwise, I think Burrow Mahomes you can just tick as done. I think the Chiefs are going to be very pass happy this year. Obviously, we've already talked about Burrow. Henry, I'll write off Derrick Henry when he's 5 years retired and already in the Hall of Fame. That's when I'll stop betting on Derrick Henry, I think, to do X, whatever X might be. And yeah, Robinson Taylor, I think, are very good bets to get 1,000 yards because 1,000 yards isn't super scary in a 17-game season. So again, I like this as well. Yeah, 25-1 feels very solid. Your only downside is potentially missed time, but you can't bet on injuries. So
I think we're getting better at this betting malarkey. At least when we're saying whether something looks like it might be profitable. At least anyway, the end of the season will tell us. To wrap things up, then, Byron, we've gone through some of the kind of key markets, but are there any other markets that you particularly like the look of, or any players, situations, teams we've not discussed that you'd like to throw in the mix for the viewers?
Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a long shot special, so you have to excuse me. I love a long shot on season markets. I like something to root for all season, and I've picked Lamar Jackson as my favorite MVP. It's a short price, but he's going to be there and thereabouts. These players they're going to be 75-1 plus, so bear that in mind. Isaiah Pacheco to lead the league in rushing touchdowns, 75-1. I think the Chiefs are going to be very throw heavy, but I think when you get in the red zone, your players like Marquise Brown, Xavier Worthy, Marquise Brown, Xavier Worthy. There's another deep threat that I can't think of. Tyquan Thornton is making an impact there. They're not so good when it gets condensed. They're great at stretching the field for you. Rashee Rice is out 6 games. If Egbuka being the Bucs' #1 receiver is my hot take of the season, Travis Kelce being completely washed might be my second one. I think efficiency stats were appalling last year. I don't think those improve as you get older generally. So I think you get into the red zone, you get into the 5-yard area. I think it's going to be Pacheco gets the ball for the Chiefs. I think the offense is going to be very good. 75-1 to lead the league in rushing touchdowns. I like it. On a similar note, the Protector of the Year market, I think, is a really interesting one. So that's the Offensive Lineman of the Year. It's a brand new award. A lot of very short odds in there. Lane Johnson, Joe Wall, Trent Williams, maybe some, these guys have been, well, not Joe Wall, but these guys have been the best of the best for a while, so maybe we'll give them an award. I've gone Josh Simmons, the Chiefs rookie left tackle at 150-1, who they drafted at the end of the first round. He's recovered from his injury. He's ready to go week 1. Looks like a beast. I think they might have got the best tackle in the draft at the end of the first round. And if the Chiefs are good and Mahomes is Mahomes, I think there's going to be a lot of narrative around, will they finally strengthen that tackle enough? Josh Simmons is a bucket end left tackle immediately, and he's 150-1. And I was really pleased because on NFL Daily recently, Jordan Rodriguez, who I absolutely love and respect world out of, she had it as her Protector of the Year tip as well, and I'd already backed it. So I shot her a quick thing on BlueSky to say how pleased I was that someone who actually knows ball had made the same recommendation. And my final long shot, I have another one that isn't written down. To lead the lead in rushing yards, Kenneth Walker, 55-1. The Seahawks are going to be very, very run heavy this year. I don't want anything to do with Sam Darnold. I feel sorry for JSN because he's going to be the #1 target, so he's going to get plenty. I don't think the ceiling's going to be there for him. I think he's going to be a compiler, and that's fine where he's going in fantasy drafts. I'd love to see him with a really good quarterback to see how high that ceiling is. But I think they're going to run that ball as often as they can. And Gray Zabel looks like a grown man in the league already. Clint Kubiak can call run schemes as good as most in the league. So yeah, if Kenneth Walker plays 17 games, 55-1 to lead the league in rushing, I think is a real nice market. Again, it's 55-1 for a reason. He might not stay fully fit. Zach Charbonnet is a really good secondary back who could eat into those touches, but we're going for ceiling at 55-1. And my final long shot is Rome Odunze to lead the league in receiving touchdowns. He had the 7th most end zone targets last year when Caleb Williams was playing. I mean, looked like Stevie Wonder a lot of times out there. I think Ben Johnson is going to improve things drastically in Chicago. I don't necessarily think they're going to be a playoff team, but I think the offense is going to be night and day from last season, where Caleb Williams is actually getting coached and held accountable this year. I don't want to blame it all on Caleb Williams last year. He was very bad, but that environment was not set for him to succeed as a rookie, even as a number 1 pick. You need a veteran in there. You need a coach who can coach you in there. I think he finally has those things. Odunze was his favorite target in the end zone last year by an awful lot. They've lost 15 end zone targets from last year, mainly Keenan Allen, but some peripheral pieces as well. If Odunze, who looks like the Bears wide receiver 1 throughout training camp, can keep those numbers up and get better quarterback play from Caleb Williams, I think 150-1 is a very, very long price for something I would have probably around 50-1 myself. So, again, not saying he should be a favorite, but I think he's someone who could easily get double-digit touchdowns with his build, with how much Caleb Williams loves him in the end zone. So, yeah, that is my final long shot of the bunch there.
So interesting. And they're the bets that are the interest. They're the ones that, if they come in, they properly pay off for you.
Yeah.
But they're all, like you say, that having something to root for in the season is always like a nice little sideline of your viewing as well, isn't it? Mm-hmm. The same as why it's quite nice to have an accumulator on during Red Zone, isn't it? Yeah. To have something to kind of keep you going all the way through. Well, amazing, Byron. As always, we really appreciate your expertise and wisdom, because Ed and I certainly do not know what we are talking about when it comes to all the better. Although I think we've done all right this year. I think we are getting a bit better. Byron is educating us year by year. If people want to get involved in some more of the stuff that you and the Good Teams and Great Teams cover podcast get involved in, where can they find you, Byron?
Yeah, so we have Good Teams and Great Teams cover basically everywhere, but GTW_GTC, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and anywhere you can find a podcast, Apple, Spotify, etc. YouTube, Spotify, you'll get to see our beautiful smiling faces alongside it. And yeah, we'll have our week 1 preview out Wednesday. So we're very excited for that. And yeah, we'll hit the ground running. We have a preview review every single week. We have power rankings every couple of weeks. And yeah, we have bets on every single main game. So yeah, very excited to see us to get started.
So we will pop a link of that down in the comments. And genuinely, we always like to pick up our guests when they come on, but the Byron, the team, with the reason we asked Byron to come on is because we learn a hell of a lot about betting from watching their show and have a look at that. So if it's good enough for us, it's good enough for you. Go and check out the Good Teams and Great Teams cover show as well this week and in season. Well, amazing. Thank you very much, Byron. I'm sure we'll be pestering you to join us again when we get to the end of the season for our Super Bowl betting special. Again, always a pleasure chatting NFL and betting with you. But that's all from me. That's all from Ed. It's all from Byron. So, as always, the only thing you have left is to ask Malcolm to take us home.
You have been listening to the team from TH Fantasy Football. For more content, follow TH_fantasy_NFL on Twitter and Instagram.